all all $1 trillion of people, because they got the number of people, but all $1 trillion that came from those people, every last one of those people were already dead and is still dead. That tells you that those checks that they're saying they paid it out back to themselves, even though they placed the names on paper, stuck it in computers, and said that they had been paid. But the money returned back to the ones who made all that up, which was, you got it, the Biden administration. And that's from the year of just 2021 to 2022. I'm just giving it to you what happened. Since taking office in 2021, they said the Biden administration has wasted at least $528 billion in improper payments to people who should have not have received them. According to the analysts from the physical, what they call watchdog group, this watchdog group opened the book. More than $974 million were paid out to none other than people who were already dead and have been dead for a long, long time. I'm just giving you facts. You can pull it up for yourself. I don't have time to be telling you all these things can be. Those payments were paid out to people that were already dead. $974 million. All of this money now has added up to $1 trillion. $1 trillion. They said one dead man, he was a dead man in which they did more than one case. And a Missouri man collected $200,000 in checks for his dead mother from 26 years before the government was even found out. While a Michigan man collected $500,000 under the name of a dead relative. And believe it or not, it has already been traced back that those men were white men. And those white men were also connected to the government. Working. Senators. Working. I'm just giving it to you what has happened. So they all got together and came up with a great scheme that they could collect this money through some of their dead relatives. Put their names on the check, give them a certain amount, and they all collected. I'm just telling you what's happening right now. And believe it or not, they all now are whining and crying, but they're doing nothing more than what we call snitching on each other. That's what they're doing. They're snitching on each other. Well, he didn't tell about when he put his mother's name on there. She got her $500,000. Well, she didn't tell it that when she did hers, her mother got $200,000. They're snitching. They're telling it on one another. And the ones that they're finding out to have gotten even larger amounts, like close to $1 billion, they resigning. They are turning in their resignation, resigning. They're going to get out of the way. I found, they said, a new lease to overturn or to turn a new lease. So I'm getting out. No, I'm going to tell them what they're doing. They're putting themselves in a position where they can either be picked up and carried to these would-be so-called concentration camps or what we know to be confinement stations until they can be held accountable properly. That's what's going to happen. You know, with Ukraine now ready to spit the truth about why they have been tied to the United States of America, receiving all this support from the United States of America, and even having the United States private citizens screaming, we must support Ukraine, and everybody's got stickers on their bumpers. I'm telling you, if you got one of those stickers on your bumper, you better remove it. Support Ukrainian. You better take that stuff off your bumper, because right now America has begun to go through a trial that they have already lost, and they're having to pay back billions and billions of dollars to Russia for one reason, because of Russia's nuclear program. Because America was using the Russian nuclear program to build nukes. And now they're having to pay back billions. Because they never paid them before. So now they're trying to pay it off so they will have some leverage of being able to say they cleared themselves before they can also be held accountable for the crimes that these nuclear capability weapons are able and are now causing. Stay with me. They have already featured on Russian state television warning the U.S. a nuclear strike will happen in their crosshairs of doing their time based upon this one fact that I'm talking about now. Because America has done nothing more than claim over and over again to be innocent to all would-be so-called agencies around the world. And these agencies have allowed America to do just what they have allowed all American presidents to do. All American citizens have been doing it. All the American would-be so-called senators have been doing it. And they have been allowing them to tell them something that they know is not true. Because they've already done their investigation. Not only have they already done their investigation, they have already finished their would-be investigation, and they have reported it. Robert Kennedy right now, Jr., I heard my host talking about it. He's offering also to announce that he and his would-be ex, Cheryl Hines, had separated, and he had done that just to protect her. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Mr. Kennedy has to protect himself. He has to realize that his father, his grandfather, his uncle, they were all in politics. And they all, too, were accepting bribes. So my bet to him is that he saved himself. Don't worry about trying to protect his ex or his wife just so he can protect her. He needs to be protecting himself. Because right now, in case everybody don't notice it, but Donald Trump is not going to be the only last man to be bought and indicted. All of them going to be indicted. That's why Hillary Clinton is screaming now, oh, she's so happy that he got indicted, not realizing that she's also been indicted. She sure has. Because her name is on the same indictment that his name is on. Just so happened that he's going to go ahead and get his out of the way. You know why? Because he just known that the trumpet, Hillary, the trumpet means that he is going to blow. And when he blows, he is going to make sure that all men are held accountable. Because he is going to blow that trumpet so loud that he's going to tell the truth about you and everyone else that's been at that White House faking to be some so-called government that you're not. That's what he's about to do. No, he's not going to be one of them. He won't become a Jeff Epstein in prison. That's never going to happen. Because you're going to be held accountable before anyone goes to prison. Before anyone is incarcerated, you're going to be held accountable too. I'm talking to all of the people that have ever spent any time at the White House claiming to be those that are of the government for saving the people and representing the people. You are going to be held accountable. Get ready now. That's what's about to happen to you. They're going back now since it's June 19th coming up, even expressing the fact that George Washington had enslaved a black man. This black man escaped from George Washington and joined the British Army, only to have himself thrown out of the country, placed in a position where he was sent out of the country and separated from life. It's all coming back. In November 1775, Dunsmore issued a would-be so-called proclamation from his headquarters in retreat by then, a fleet of ships off of Norfolk, which is known as Norfolk, Virginia. Now, they're talking about the war and what happened during that time. George Washington had everything to do with nothing more than the undermining bribery of a war that should have never taken place. And the so-called United States of America should have never been able to call themselves a United States of America because they were still classified Britons. And they wasn't just able to cut up their so-called would-be ID card and claim another nationality or to claim another race. They were still British. Their birth certificates was British. Stay with me. Their mothers and their fathers were British. And thereby, they were British. They don't get to claim we're United States citizens just because they decide to burn their bras, do they? Stay with me. You'll catch on in a minute. So Great Britain and North American colonies are still tied together, not because of the 1619 so-called slave trade. Had nothing to do with that. And I have no offense to those young black women who decided to do some 1619 project or whatever they want to call that movement of a book that they wrote. That's a waste of everybody's time. Because you wrote a bunch of would-be bull crap in those books that has no truth to it either. And it has no evidence of that either. And most of you, all you were trying to do was make your family name some so-called famous name, which your family were known to be true would-be so-called slaves because they came from Africa. They were known as Canaanites in this land. And they were to be destroyed out of this land, not bought here and celebrated. So excuse me, no offense to you, but I have to call truth so you can get on with the truth. So you don't get caught up in 1812 and believing that your daddy Green or whatever you want to call him, there's only one true Green that's on this planet right now. And that Green is my brother. And he would tell you that everyone knows Colonel Green. Everyone knew General Green because those men were part of nothing more than a real revolution. A real revolution for this nation right here. The Green-Hilton Agreement goes all the way to talking about General Green. The Green-Hilton Agreement, which happened in Hanoi, and over in Vietnam, had a lot to do with the so-called freedom in which all the people were able to finally get to be free from being prisoners over in Vietnam after the Vietnam War. Everyone knows that there at the Green-Hilton was where John F. Kennedy made a full agreement with them that he was going to allow them to provide something that was called the gold-backed bonds, and at the same time try to finish completing fighting a war in Vietnam that was an unjust war to begin with, because that unjust war was only because America was seeking and looking for the gold in which they deemed to have been taken away from one known as Fort Knox, Kentucky, which Fort Knox, Kentucky never housed any gold of that nature. Stay with me. You're going to realize that all the lies that they're calling secrets, they're not secrets. They were just straight up lies. Lies of manipulation. Lies of the great white man. Lies of the great so-called white leaders and rulers and conquerors and explorers. Yes, lies. Well, no secret. They were lies. The only secret was they didn't want everybody to find out they were lies. That's the only secret it was. Listen, America, I'm warning you. I'm letting you know that all of the nations, they are on to you. All the nations have really found out exactly who you are and what you've done. All the nations is going to be part of bringing you to justice. All of the nations are going to be witnesses against you. All the nations are going to add on to what you're going to be brought to the courts based upon cases, upon cases, upon cases. And they're going to add on to your case. They're going to add on to the accusation. They're going to add on to those people that are accusing you of slavery, racism, sexism, human trafficking, yes, pedophiles, rape, theft. They're going to add on money laundering, America. All the nations are going to add it on, and all of them are going to be witnesses against you. And you are going to be found guilty. And you are going to be executed and terminated. I'm just giving you the truth. My advice to you, seek real, wise counseling, because you're going to need it. Meantime, I'm going to do us all a favor and take a short break.
Thank you, sir. You know, Americans, to have Dr. Henderson, Yoshua Mashiach, bring you this truth all of these years is the best gift you could ever get. Because when you know the truth is manipulated, as we have been, and even the nations agree to the fact that the people of the U.S. are the most ignorant. Ignorant doesn't mean stupid. It just means without knowledge. Lied to and manipulated people on the planet. So the best gift he's given you life and given you the truth, whether you accept it or reject it. He's not only given you life by giving you truth, he's also provided a way out for you. He's provided protection for you. The system has been set up. It's already functioning and working. For some of those of you that might be sitting on the fence about, well, should I get indexed? Should I not get indexed? He just explained to you that you don't need some kind of special ID. That if you're already identified, they of the unrighteous, the police departments, etc., they know that if they're targeting you, once they pull your information, they're going to say you're no longer under their jurisdiction. They have no right to touch you, and they have no choice but to release you. That's the kind of protection that you get through indexing. Everybody on this planet recognizes identified sovereign principles, which is what you become once you become indexed. You get your sovereignty restored. But it's recognized by all 198 nations. Doctor explained to you just very simply said it. There was no explanation. A couple weeks back or so, that if you're not indexed, when the reset is complete, you're not going to have a bank account. As simple as that. And some of you, that's all you care about is the money. Oh my gosh, the bank account won't have a bank account. No amount of credit or money is going to do you any good if you're not identified and you don't have any protection. Again, all four sides of the U.S. have been infiltrated by foreign soldiers. Many of them are, they're incognito. You're not going to know who they are. They're wearing civilian clothes. But they're doing their job. And that's to take down the unrighteous in this nation. So your identification literally is life or death to you. So I highly recommend that you take the time to get yourself indexed. You can go to the sovcpr.com website. That's got the latest updated information on indexing. Very shortly, the .org website will be brought up to speed as well. Everything there that you need to know. Get it done. With that, I'd like to go ahead and yield back to you, sir.
I'm still shining. We are at so much work, so many things happening at one time, at this time of year, at this very moment. Going to have some very busy days coming, and the next 15 days are going to be very, very, very important that the whole world keeps focused on what's going on. Right now they've been talking about something that they call the HENDO documents, based upon suggesting that the SEC would be possibly the wrong agency to govern digital assets. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with SEC, you don't put a period in the front of it and classify it as being secretary. It's actually known as the Securities and Exchange Commission. And believe it or not, the Securities and Exchange Commission has been around for quite some time. And they have been in various cases around the world where even they have brought up some celebrities on lawsuits and in situations whereby it's always their involvement when there's a lot of currency that will be exposed. So they kind of get involved for no other reason but to see if they can find themselves penny pinching off the side where they can keep themselves in some manner of occupation as well, or identification as well, that they might claim to be trying to help the source rather than destroy the source. So, believe it or not, this HENDO document is talking about how the United States government has to somehow Congress intervene and provide clarity in governmental digital assets. And these assets has a whole lot to do with the governing of the Congress, based upon the fact Congress is asking for loans. The largest thing on this for identifying information is that Congress must recognize that they're getting or asking for the loans from, I would say, areas whereby Congress don't have no control over. Congress actually receives their loans from what they deem to be a private organization or a private person or a private person with an S. These private persons are better known as the private would-be so-called people of the solvent principle. So America is always claiming to be receiving this would-be so-called loan. Right now, this year, they have raised their debt ceiling, which everybody has no clue again. For those of you that don't have the ability to have a simple mind of understanding terminologies and statements that are being made and spoken and how to be able to just easily figure out what's being said, interpreted, whatever you might want to call it, you need some help. Because raising the debt ceiling is only saying that they're asking for more credit. It does not give them the ability to be able to pay off the debt. It doesn't give them the ability to be able to get more debt. But they want to raise the ability to create more or to have the ability to get their numbers higher before they find themselves having to shut down. Let's just say they said that they're now in debt $31.4 trillion. And that's, I'm just giving them this number because we know it's about $999+ trillion that they're in debt right now. But giving them the benefit of a doubt of a line with the group of men and women that call themselves politicians. They are saying that they're in debt $31.4 trillion. But here's what you have to listen to. They're claiming that they're going to be able to receive a $4 trillion limit, a $4 trillion over the next 7 years that's going to allow them to be able to run their nation for 7 more years while doing nothing more than putting themselves in further debt of a $35.4 trillion debt. That would be $4 trillion added to their $31 trillion. Now, I need you to understand, they're talking about that over a would-be so-called 7-year period. But you need to understand that they have collected now more than 21 of that $1 trillion that they claim to be only 31 trillion. They got 21 trillion of it in less than 16 years. So if we time 7 years by another 7 years, that's 2 7 years, that would be 14 years. Now, if they've gotten $21 trillion in that debt, and those in the same length of time, just in the past would be 14 years, you got to consider that they're lying out their teeth. If they're saying they're only going to borrow $4 trillion and be able to pay back all $35 trillion in record time to be able to save their nation. Who's believing the story? The people. We have to be honest, the people are the most valuable people on the planet. Because most of them are working on a job where they're saying they're receiving some help from the government or receiving about $25 an hour. That's minimum wage. So $25 an hour minimum wage over the next 365 years adds up to be what? 365 days is 1 year. So giving them 1 year of $25. That's 8 hours work, $25 an hour. That's 8 hours times 25 with all of it added up being times 12 months. Now, I'm only telling you this and giving you these numbers because if any of you can do numbers at all, you should realize they're not going to be able to pay back no $4 trillion at no time. Not at that rate. Not going to happen. So it tells you that someone is lying through their teeth. And you have to ask yourself, where is the intelligence and where are the true smart people of the United States of America? Are they all just sitting in the church waiting for Jesus Christ to come to count the money before anybody moves the so-called would-be collection of offerings? Is that what's happening? Because it's obvious that those deacons and those so-called would-be deaconesses are not doing their job to count the money at the end of every would-be so-called congregational gathering. Stay with me, because they definitely don't know how much much they're getting and how much they're spending. The reason I'm saying this is because everyone at the White House that you have placed in charge, that you're allowed to be your representative, is either lying through their teeth or they're the dumbest people on the planet. I would say both. They're lying through their teeth, and they're also the dumbest people you could have chosen to put in the White House. No offense to them and their healthy living. Nobody's saying that they couldn't bribe to get a brand new BMW or a brand new Whitney Rolls Royce or any other type of vehicle that they have sitting outside the White House. What I'm saying is that they are crying and screaming. They're mad at the pushers. They're mad at the pimps. They're mad at the con men. And they are doing a greater job than they're doing and benefiting off you greater than any pusher or pimp or prostitute might even be able to do. They're gaining more with what they're doing. Lies, manipulation, you call it, or whatever you want to call it. You have agreed to it, and they're taking full advantage of it, of you. I know we have had a number of people come to us talking about ID cards. And listen, people, I'm going to tell you again, we're doing away with those things. Doing away with them. Everything is going to be done digital. Digital. That's why they're so now afraid of the SEC. The SEC is so afraid of Congress, and Congress is so afraid of the Ripple, and everyone is now threatening to harm each other based upon coming to court. But they all are liars, outright, all of them. They don't have no best interest at hand, because if they did, they should realize what has been happening, what's taking place. Digital is just what it means. You will be able to call in, dial in, checks in, touch a button, and it's going to tell them who you are, where you came from, and to leave you alone. That's what is going to happen. That's a digital system. You won't have to be showing them an ID card that they will tell you there's a wanted poster for the ID card. Come on, stay on me, I'm just telling you. And some of you are standing, well, when am I going to get my credentials? You're not going to get any credentials. You're digital. Stop it. Everyone's trying to get those things out of your life now. You want to put them back in there. I keep talking to all of these would-be commander-in-chiefs that we got, and these high chiefs and these would-be so-called, I guess they call themselves grand chiefs. I keep saying to all these emperors and empresses, listen, people, if you're giving people some plastic card or some would-be metal license plate or whatever, and we're bringing them out of that, you're causing more harm and damage than you're doing good, because that's what we're eliminating now. The people don't need you to be a representative for them. If they do, then that means they can stand us as a man right now. I'm just giving you the truth of what's happening. So all of you can stop thinking you're going to be in charge of the people. The people are going to be in charge of themselves. It is for the people, by the people. And the people will make the determination of what they want or what they don't want. And it's not going to be some grand sheik or some emperor or some king or some queen to give them that authority. Not going to happen. I don't care if he happens to be the Pope's mama come back and they somehow sanctify her and make her one of the saints of the planet. She's not going to have anybody else's authority in her hands. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen, people. Don't worry. You got your would-be commandment coming for yourself. Follow the laws of the land. You're going to be okay. Follow the laws of Moses. You're going to be even greater. Follow the international laws. You are going to be perfect. But if you violate any of those laws, you're going to be terminated. I'm just giving you the facts. So for all of you sitting around waiting for some television show to come on TV where they're going to say, hey, everybody's free. Go out and do what you want to do. That's not going to happen. The television is going to be clogged up with cases after cases after cases. You're going to see Donald Trump go through a case. You're going to see Hillary Clinton go through a case. You're going to see, and if they're still alive and around, you're going to see Barack Obama go through a case. You're going to see Joe Biden go through a case. You're going to see William Jefferson Clinton go through a case. You're about to see every last one. You're going to see George Soros go through a case. He can give it over to his son if he wants to. He's still going to be held accountable in the court of law. So if he's 92 now and he got 9 more years, he believes to be around. He better hurry up and ask somebody to get him out of here, because he is going to be coming to court for a case. Sure. And all the rest of them are going to be in court for a case. Ain't going to have time to be bothering you, because they're going to be too busy trying to get themselves out of trouble. They ain't got time to be talking to you. They got to get their lawyers together. They got to get their lives together. They got to get their would-be so-called places where they were. They got to get their accountability. They got to be able to account where they were, where they weren't, and who they was with and who they wasn't with. They're going to have to be doing all that. They don't have time to be talking to you. That's why I tell you, get somewhere, make do, get you something that you love to do. Sit down, be quiet, stay out of the way, and let Father Yah do what he does best, and that's bring the wicked to justice. Bring the wicked to a point where they will understand that the 5 divine principles of the universe is the only 5 divine principles, period. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and they will focus on that. And they are going to be terminated if these things do not take place. They are going to be terminated. Period. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal and that they were endowed by their creator, the only creator of the universe, Ya Allah, of some and unalienable rights, and among them are known to be life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if any time these rights become threatened by anyone or anything, it becomes the right of those people to either abolish it or to alter it. And he changed it. Nobody has changed it up to this point. So now it's all about abolishing it. Everyone knows that. The congressmen that are there now already know that. They're already abolishing it as you speak. Many of them are now going to the extreme of nothing more than getting lawyers to go in and adapt, we would say, to a program that will even allow them to be able to give their resignation without even having to write one. They can just walk out. They don't have to be voted out. They don't have to inform anybody that they're leaving. They are now asking their lawyers to override those things, that they can just walk out. I'm talking about those representatives. And they don't want the embarrassment. And they definitely don't want the punishment that comes along with it. They just want to go. I was not truly informed, they say. I was not well aware of what I was getting myself into. I didn't know this was like that, based upon the destruction that which had already been set the people of this universe and in America. I was not aware that those things that happened. I didn't know how much slavery took place. I didn't know that they only did slavery so they could be able to gain money and gain popularity. I didn't know that they were killing those black people over there on the west side because the only thing they were trying to do was get the east side and the west side to kill each other off. And they were actually putting money on the east side. They were actually putting drugs on the west side. And they were putting those people in a position where they had to kill each other in order to be able to survive. But they hid it. And these so-called representative leaders have found that out, and they're saying, don't want any part of it, and I want out of it, and I'm going to put in a resignation, or I need to somehow terminate this position without me having to be held accountable for something that I was not truly, fully aware of. I'm telling you what's happening right now in the United States. I'm saying to you, get somewhere and sit down. Make do. The time is right here. It's happening as we speak. It's not going to happen. It's not about to happen. It's happening now. We have protected you up to this point where it's not at your front door. Stay out of the way. Don't let it come to your front door. You don't need to get angry with your neighbor and go over and scream at her and she shoot you through her front door while it's still cold. You don't need to do that. Sit down and be quiet. You don't need to anger every white man in your would-be so-called community around your city so he can come barging into your church or storming into your school and shooting up everybody there. You don't need that. Sit down. Be quiet. Stay out of the way. I'm just giving you the fact of what's happening. There's some angry people out there. They're mad at the government. The government has lied to them, manipulated them. Some of them spent a lot of time in the government. They spent a lot of time in the military. They spent a lot of time working government contracts, just believing that everything was going to be fine. Only to find out these people have been manipulating them. They're angry now. Stay out of their way. And you don't become one of them. Sit down. Be quiet. Let it take its course, and you will be just fine. It's already happening. I got to go. I got to get busy. I got to save some of you still because you're not listening. You don't want to hear what I'm saying to you, so I got to do something to keep protecting you just long enough for you to be able to recognize that you are going to be fine when you stay out of the way and let it have its being and its way. You're going to be fine. It's either truth or it's a lie, it's life or death. There's no in between. Remember, I told you cannot be lukewarm. You're either going to love one and hate the other. No one, no woman, no friendly gender is going to be able, as one would say, none of you are going to be able to love two masters. You're either going to love one and hate the other. My master is Ya Allah. I love him, and he is the only one. As a matter of fact, I just looked outside my window. He's sitting there. Sure enough, got a big bright candle burning on this little small desk. No, he don't want me to put too much on the desk. He knows that really, my hand's already full. He don't want to clutter that desk up, and that candle needs at least a little spot, and it has it. It's burning bright. He's telling me that you still got a little bit of light left, you're sure. And I'll say to him, I got you. Man must work while it's still light, while it's still day. Man must work. For when darkness comes, when night comes, no man can work. My work must go on. As for you, though, darkness has creep there. I would say to you, go ahead, lay down, relax, close your eyes. Get you a little bit of rest. You're going to need it, but you'll be okay. Get your rest. Peace and love, and nightfall.